Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sunny Side. I'm Sunny, and this video right here is all about Venus in Gemini. Just as for those who don't know, I'm a professional astrologer, and I do write some of the horoscopes for some of the newspapers up here in Canada. And if you like a personal reading, just check it out in the description box below, and I'd love to look at your chart. And that's the action. In addition to all of that, I'm shooting these videos live now on the channel, so if I get a little distracted by the chat or I get sidetracked, just bear with me. Plus, it's a video if you like. It's a video, so if you like, just fast forward. And anyways, so I just want to say, hey Nazin, what's up? I hope you're having a super amazing day. And so here we go. Now, before we get to Venus, so here's what happens. I have a bunch of writings here of different astrologers and their interpretations of Venus in Gemini. And some of them are I think they're very good, and others tend to talk more about the house system than the sign itself. They might allude to the third house as opposed to Gemini, which is okay. It's a guy's perspective. In addition to all of that, there is a section that talks about a sun in a particular sign with Venus in Gemini, which is kind of interesting. In addition to that, they have different astrological aspects that they talk about here, which is interesting to learn about. All right, so let's do it. So just as an example, it's quite often that when people talk, and I'm going to give my 2 cents first, and then we'll get down to it. So here's what the chart looks like. Hey Candy, what's up? And so, okay, I'm just saying hello to Sunnysiders as I record the video. So this is Venus up here in the chart, and we're going to imagine that Venus is over here in Gemini. Now, some people think that, how does it work? So when you're writing professional horoscopes, like I'm a professional astrologer, I write horoscopes for the newspaper, we look at Venus in terms of what you attract. So right now with Venus at this placement in the chart, this means that Gemini is going to attract money. It means that Leo is going to attract lovers from the past. It means that Capricorn is going to attract people who want to lock them down on a permanent basis. And it means that Pisces is in a bit of a romantic cycle, meaning they're going to attract people from, who want to have dates with them, who want to have fun. It also means Pisces are getting pregnant. In addition to that, it means Taurus, Taurians, or Taurus born under Taurus sun, when Venus is here, Taurus are going to, they're going to buy new computers, going to buy new cell phones, new cars. And that's what works from a perspective. If you're writing the horoscopes for the newspapers, that's how you look at them. Well, that's how I look at it anyways. But there's a difference. When you're watching a YouTube video or you're looking at your own chart, you're like, hey, or you're talking to me like, hey, Sunny, I have my Venus in Gemini. What does it mean? I hear that the moon is all about your emotions and Mars is, some kind of energy thing. What does a Venus in your Gemini mean? Well, it's a good question. So usually, let me just adjust this. Usually I talk about the moon is what you want to do. The sun is who you are, right? The rising is what you look like. It's how you present yourself to the world. The first house is all about your identity, your physical identity. And the moon is what you want to do. So once again, the sun is like, I'm over here. This is my sun. Sun is here in Gemini today. I'm a Gemini. Okay, that's the way it is. But the moon is over here. I want to be like that. Mars is, and Venus is like what you attract. So in this situation, you're like, the sun is here. This guy's a Gemini. The moon is over here. He wants to be Sagittarius kind of stuff. But Venus is over here in Cancer. In this particular example, he's attracting Cancer stuff. It's quite fascinating. So, anyways, there's more to it than that. Venus isn't just what you attract. It's how you want to relate to others. People think the moon is your emotions, but it's not. It's what you want to do. So it's a lot more than your emotions. And because Venus is love. That's an emotion too. Venus is how you want to bond with others. It's what you attract. And in astrology, we have these axes all the time, these axes of events and ways of looking at things. And, they're opposites kind of thing, or they're just themes that flow through the chart. And Venus right here is not just what you attract, but it's how you want to relate to others. So the signs we've done so far are Aries and Taurus. And when the Venus in Aries, you want to relate to others in an aggressive kind of way, in a competitive kind of way. You want to compete with your partner. So if someone falls down, an Aries Venus would say, get up, go get him, go get him, go get him. That's what an Aries Venus would say. It's how they want to relate. They're competitive sexually. They're competitive. They're competitive emotionally. Or not only that, they express themselves competitively. And they want you to compete with them. And they want I could do that. And they're going yeah, let's go do it. And then we have Venus in Taurus. That's more of a tangible, physical kind of love. Venus in Taurus want to help. They want to, if they love you, they want to take care of you physically and give you stuff. And that's Venus in Taurus. And today, we're going to look at Venus in Gemini. And that's the action on what's going down with that kind of stuff. So let's do it. Here we go. So first we have John Speller and Karen McCoy and their 2 cents on a natal Venus in Gemini. And they have 2 different interpretations here. First, and this is going to be a long video, so please, settle in, chill out, go do whatever you got to do and put it on in the background. Static. Oh, thanks, Leo, son. Okay, so once again, I am doing the video live on the channel here. Oh, and please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Okay, John Speller and Karen McCoy, static. By placing an obsessive value on quick wit and social situations, you may unknowingly withhold from others your special ability for adding lightness and open communication. When you neglect listening to others' ideas, you might feel a distinct lack of confidence in communicating with them at all. Indulging in flightiness in social relationships may result in a feeling of lack of worth in yourself and others. When you use your talent for communication to manipulate or just to deceive or to create a superficial excitement with your glib wit, you may experience a lack of your own sense of value. In trying to look good to others, you might get caught up in superficiality. This type of communication leads to feelings of insecurities and of being at the mercy of how others see you. Alright, well, just saying, this Jan and Karen, the stuff that they write here in the static part, I might stop saying that in the videos because it doesn't always make sense. So I might cut them out of the next video. Dynamic. When you're willing to share your... Let's just cut them out right now. Babs Kirby and Janie Stubbs. This is what they say. The person with Venus in Gemini has a light touch and a lively sparkle. These people love company and are very friendly in an unaffected way. They have a particular ease of social expression, and their natural curiosity makes them quick to tune into others. This makes it easy for them to get on with all kinds of people, and they usually have a wide circle of friends. Venus in Gemini likes to draw people out and will ask many questions. Generally witty and lively, these people are fun to be with, and others usually find them attractive. Their pleasure in responding to this attention can make them incorrigible flirts. Venus and Gemini are super flirts. Because they enjoy the company of others so much, they're often reluctant to be tied down to one person and are very skilled at being evasive. They tend to sidestep difficult issues so that it can be quite hard to persuade them to stay still long enough or to sort anything out. They tend to feel more comfortable in a fairly light-hearted relationship and often have several on the go at any one time, like a butterfly flirting from flower to flower. Gemini Venus is attracted to people who are communicative, those who have ideas and enjoy talking about them. This person likes people who are full of surprises, quickly becoming bored with someone who's too predictable. They need variety and movement in the relationships, cannot bear things to become static and fixed. In love, Venus in Gemini wants everything in words. Close communication is what love is all about for these people. So they need constant feedback from their partner, and they will feel very insecure and rejected if they don't get it. In return, they will show love in a very attentive, communicative way. If you're loved by Venus in Gemini, you will hear all about it through constant phone calls, cards, and letters. Love letters are second nature to Venus and Gemini person. Subsequently, if they're not, they'll just ignore the hell out of you. It's really funny. For Venus in Gemini, friendship will be a vital component in love. They're really looking for a companion, someone they enjoy talking to and with whom they can share their ideas and interests. Although people with Venus and Gemini may appear fickle, they generally hate to lose someone with whom they have a close connection and put a lot of energy into maintaining the links of friendship with those they love. Next, Sky Alexander is up. Sky Alexander says, Venus is associated with artistic creations, and Gemini rules communication. Therefore, if you have artistic talent, you are likely to express it through some form of writing. You love language and the written word and want to share your thoughts with others. Or since Gemini rules the hands, you might use your hands in some creative manner. Communication is of utmost importance in your relationship. If you can't talk to your partner, no amount of sexual attraction will keep you interested for long. Your lovers must also be your friends. Your lover must also be your friends. You want a partner with whom you can share ideas, who will teach you new things and expose you to new experiences. Intelligence might be first on your list of desirable qualities in a partner, and you'll probably find that you'll learn a great deal from your lovers. When you're with your partner, you never stop talking, and when you're apart, you write long love letters or telephone frequently just to hear his or her voice. You enjoy talking or writing about love, your own love or love in general. This is the position of the romance novelist or the person who carries on a love affair mainly through letters. You aren't very good at keeping secrets and are inclined to gossip about others' relationships. You also reveal more about your own love life than anyone ever wanted to know. What good is a love affair if you can't tell everyone about it? All right. Now, I know that's talking about Venus and Gemini, but that's really a Venus in the third house kind of thing. Venus in the third house is gossip. Okay, just letting you know. It says anything in the third house means you're going to put a lot of energy into talking. So, meaning if your partner's sun is in your third house, and this is Compatibility Astrology, you're going to constantly be talking about them. Next, your romantic feelings aren't very deep or intense, and others may consider you rather superficial and detached. You bounce back quickly and easily from disappointments in love, eager to move on to new relationships and experiences. What you lack in emotional depth, you make up for in variety. Gemini is a dualistic sign, and you often may have more than one love interest at a time. In fact, you're happier when you're involved with two or more lovers simultaneously, since each of them satisfies different needs and desires in you. You firmly believe that you can't get everything you want from one person, but maybe with 2, 3, or more you'll be able to find total fulfillment. You're perfectly capable of loving several people at the same time and don't understand why your partners can't accept the situation, since you never meant to hurt anyone. Also, you're afraid of missing out on something if you commit yourself to one mate. The expression, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, certainly applies to people with Venus and Gemini. You never stop scanning the horizons for prospective partners and can be an incorrigible flirt. Unless you also have several planets in signs such as Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, or Capricorn, you probably have trouble remaining faithful to one person for long. You can't stand possessiveness, and if your partner tries to clip your wings, you might lie, sneak around, or employ other tactics to maintain your freedom. To you, having many different lovers is a form of a freedom of expression, a right guaranteed you in the First Amendment of the Constitution. Women with this planetary position like to think of themselves as being intelligent, articulate, friendly, and free-spirited, and want others to see them this way too. You use your mental and verbal abilities to attract lovers and consider a good mind to be the mark of femininity. You also value intelligence and well-developed communication skills in other women and look for these qualities in your friends. You have lots of friends and acquaintances, and although they may be quite different in many ways, they're all intellectually stimulating, talkative, and hungry for knowledge. Men with this placement find intelligent women especially attractive. You're not intimidated in the least by a partner who's smarter than you are, and you enjoy a woman who can hold up her end of the conversation and even teach you a few things. Most importantly, you want your lover to be your friend, someone with whom you can share ideas and good times. All right, I think that makes sense. On one hand, they got a little sideways, talking about their third house kind of thing, but let's continue what's it. Gemini is a sign that brings things together, and Venus is how you want to relate. Gemini and Venus want things to come together. It's loving, ideas, loving expressions. Gemini is about expressing yourself. It's Mercury in air. So and Venus is relating, so they want to talk to you, they want to talk it out. Venus and Gemini, they don't have to have multiple partners. They usually do, but they don't have to. But they do need to get things off their chest. You have to let Venus and Gemini people talk. So here's Francis Sakon and Louis Aker. Venus in the sign of Gemini indicates people who like a variety in their romantic and social lives. The desire for a varied experience coupled with curiosity about people makes them disinclined to settle down to one permanent romantic relationship. Like Venus in Aquarius, this position makes them want to be friends with everyone, but they're nevertheless capable of sustained devotion. Because of their wit and conversation ability, they are attracted to people with agile minds and keen intellects. This is a Venus that needs to be given adequate freedom. People with this Venus position spend much time traveling in a pursuit of pleasure and social activity. Literary activities, especially poetry and jokes, are favorite artistic expression, usually including some form of play on words. As with the other air signs, there's a tendency to dislike coarse behavior. The natives have a pleasing manner and maintain general good relations with brothers, sisters, and neighbors. If Venus is afflicted in this sign, there is inconsistency and fickleness in romance. Values concerning love, marriage, and romance may be superficial. So these guys can be superficial. Isabel Hickey says, here's the light, airy, charming, superficial Venus if she does not have fixed signs to balance the forces. Venus in Gemini will have great charm, wit, and expressiveness, understands passion but does not feel it too strongly. Emotions are stifled through the mind instead of through the feelings. That's an interesting one. An entertaining companion, but not one to be taken too seriously. They need to learn consistently. It's hard for them to decide on one love when there are so many from which to choose. Often, two important loves in the life. Often these guys are multiple lovers, we know that. Though not always at the same time. Very friendly and makes a delightful companion if you don't try to pin the butterfly down. Next. Ronnie Dyer. And here are the keywords. They're creative, non-committal, and they enjoy multiple romances and long variety. When placed in Mercury-ruled Gemini, a mutable air sign, Venus equates love with friendship, deriving endless pleasure and fulfillment from the intellectual stimulation of people, novel ideas, the media, and travel. Since Mercury was an asexual god in Greek Roman mythology, and the only planet not assigned a gender in Vedic astrology, this Venus does not crave sexual power and expression as the generation of ideas and feedback. Self-worth is measured in terms not sexually or romantic reciprocation, but affability and the facility for conducting constant exchanges of information, ideas, and opinions with a diversity of people. And that means they like to talk to everybody. They're social butterflies. In fact, the requirement for partnership are based less on romantic love and physical passion and more on friendship, communication, and mobility. These are the type of people that want you to say, I love you, like 1,000,000 times a day. It's important for Venus and Gemini people to choose mates who respect their convictions and, most importantly, their need for a variety of activities outside the home. The comfort that Venus and Gemini people seek in a multitude of friendships, cultural activities, education courses, traveling, etc., does not necessarily stem from an unhappy home life and should not be interpreted as a desire to be unfaithful. Alright, so these guys are saying Venus and Gemini is not necessarily unfaithful. Because these individuals because they do an incredible amount of networking, often serving as go-betweens, right? If need be, mediators, so to speak. It is indeed likely that they may be attracted to people outside of the relationship, if only as a result of whoever crosses their path. Unfounded jealousy, however, may be the force that drives these freedom-loving people into contemplating an affair, since Venus in air signs is by nature detached, and sex is often regarded as a means of communication rather than an expression of love. That's an interesting one. Like Plato's heavenly Urania, honored for her cerebral qualities, individuals with Venus in Gemini place a higher value on the intellect than on physical desire. Due to their own emotional detachment, they often do not take commitment as seriously as they should. Due to this placement's lack of physical passion and genuine restlessness, astrological texts have decided to describe this position as aloof, fickle, promiscuous, uncommitted, and insensitive to the needs of others. Since Venus in Mercury-ruled Gemini, the sign of restlessness and perpetual youth, tends to be somewhat detached towards its loved ones, these people may be unable to settle into a monogamous relationship until later in life, after they've sown their wild oats. If Venus is well aspected, they possess a wealth of cleverness, wit, and spontaneity of expression. Due to Gemini's impeccable timing and remarkable ability to replicate sounds, the creative influence of Venus lends itself to outstanding improvisational musicians and performers. Well, you got to be anyone who's really smart, right? Because Geminis rule the lungs and the ability to communicate, a dominant Venus prefigures eloquent speaking voices and the power of persuasion. These people are filled with a plethora of artistic ideas, and rather than direct their passions towards romantic involvements, their fever is often apparent in the media arts, filmmaking, photography, etc. If, on the other hand, Venus is afflicted, that means the aspects aren't so strong, these people are insecure about their opinions, and rather than look to others for stimulation, they validate themselves by mimicking or stealing original ideas and presenting them as their own. Additionally, it's difficult for them to commit to a lasting relationship due to an inability to follow the dictates of their hearts. As they mature, they will be less likely to seek validation from others around them and more apt to become good partners. Next, Martin Schumann. Let's check out what he says about... So once again, this is all about Venus in Gemini today. So Martin says, with this placement, the individual is learning the lessons of relationships as his divided feelings seek union with compatible ideas, people, and the current movement of society as it unfolds in meaning through cultural refinement and human decency. He understands and sifts through tons of opinions and ideas, which are the very essence of his interest in life. Yet, he has much to learn about human nature if he's to realize the full potential of Yub. Okay, now, I'm going to explain something here before we go on. In astrology, people always talk about conjunctions and the angles. They talk about squares and they talk about trines and sextiles. But what people don't talk about enough of is the yod. And when I write the horoscopes for you guys, I look at the yod constantly. But I don't tell you guys because no one even talks about it. So you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But this guy's about to read something about the yod in astrology. And in astrology, it's also known as an inconjunct. And it creates what's known as the finger. The yod is known as the finger of God. And we talk about it in the tarot when I read your tarot cards. And I talk about it all the time. And this one is an inconjunct. So that means it's the two signs. So if you go right across, that's the opposite. So the opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. But then we go, an inconjunct is on one side. So it's Scorpio on one side and it's Capricorn on the other. So Scorpio and Capricorn are what form the yod, or the two signs that inconjunct Gemini. And this creates, once again, what's called the finger of God. And he's going to go on and explain it right now. And this is one of the things that the lessons in life, it's a lessons in life angle. So here we go. The yod to this Venus placement is formed by the inconjuncts from Scorpio and Capricorn. And it's from these two signs that the individual realizes how the fulfillment of love will manifest. From Scorpio, now, if you check out the other videos, I say all the time, the Geminis love Scorpio's dark humor. This is why. From Scorpio, the person learns to drink deep from the well of knowledge. He begins to realize the existence of a world of hidden feelings, which adds richness and fullness to his ideas, helping to transform and unfold his consciousness. He learns to seek beyond the trivia and idle conversation or casual relationships. Instead, he discovers the harmonious scope of ideas and the cosmic meaning of social interaction with others, so that his natural affinity for thoughtfulness, kindness, and consideration takes on a deepening quality. So, from Scorpio, the inconjunct here, Gemini learns to, instead of be superficial and skim the surface, to delve deeper into things. to really, to understand people, to stop being so superficial. This unlocks the barrier, and Scorpio has to learn something from Gemini as well. This unlocks the barriers in his consciousness and puts him in touch with a kind of truth which transcends his tendency to be flighty. From Capricorn, he must learn to seek the inherent wisdom that creates a sense of foresight and vision, enabling him to oversee life's momentary attractions from the scope of a larger, everlasting context. Now, Capricorn is a progressive sign. They're always moving up and up and up and up. They have a vision and they're acting out the vision. Remember, Virgo makes the plan, Capricorn works the plan. Gemini, especially Venus in Gemini, can seem like a flighty sign. So the saying, the inconjunct here is Capricorn teaches the Virgo, the Venus in Gemini, to instead of being flighty, to work the plan, take the steps to make it happen. The substance of the wisdom of the ages, the knowing of the elders, and the serene understanding of how man unfolds throughout the time holds very important lessons for the Venus and Gemini individual. As he realizes the perspective of Capricorn, he begins to see the lessons that life is teaching him. This adds a meaningful anchor to his reality, giving him the substance and the stability that helps to resolve his dualistic feelings. Castor and Pollux, the twins of Gemini, symbolize mortality and immortality. The Venus and Gemini individual experiences both, for he feels life as an isolated instant in time through the mortal part of him that he knows must eventually die, while also seeing the continuous stream of thoughts and ideas which transcend life itself, putting him in touch with the idea of man's immortality. Guys, got that? So on one hand, the twins represent, one of the twins is mortality, means you're going to die, and the other one is immortality. Interesting. Capricorn symbolizes the reality of man in matter. It teaches the lessons of evolution as the individual works his way through karma, Saturn is the planet of karma which rules Capricorn, to the ultimate state of dignity in which he eventually understands the father principle. In astrology, Saturn represents your father. Saturn and the sun, it depends on how you're looking at it. This is the reason why so many people with Venus and Gemini experience difficulties with their father. I'll say it again. This is the reason why so many people with Venus and Gemini experience difficulties with their father. The limitation of any authority figure fulfills the reality of the mortal essence of the sign, while at the same time giving the appearance of being a block to the need for immortality. Scorpio symbolizes life after death, the regeneration of human consciousness as an ongoing part of man's immortal soul, and the endings from which new beginnings are reborn. It balances the limitations of Capricorn. Remember, Scorpio has the power, Capricorn wants the power. It balances the limitations of Capricorn, allowing many to feel his immortal relationship with himself, the society which supports his ideas, and the universe which is the source of love in all he thinks and feels. Many with this placement experience more than one marriage, many interests, and simultaneous feelings of love for things which appear to contradict each other. Yet, when the deep lasting meaning of Scorpio and Capricorn become clear, the individual search for human understanding begins to make sense. He learns about his love for finite moments, right? Finite. Boundaries, Okay. Okay, he learns about his love for finite moments contained within the limits, which are Capricorn, of human culture, admits the infinity of man's search to understand his place in the universe, which is Scorpio. In this way, he realizes the divine content of love. His ideas, his relationships, and his natural affinity for words and language begin to symbolize the unraveling of the great mystery of life. For the true essence of his gift of love is to communicate in the light and airy ways that he himself and his fellow mortals can understand, the depth and profoundness of wisdom that comes through the mortal part of his nature. All right, so that's how the yod works, and those are some of the lessons that a Venus and Gemini are supposed to learn in their life. All right, next. Let's see if it lightens up here a little bit. Marcio Moore and Mark Douglas, they say, the key words are affections and changeable, but charmingly expressed. Okay. Symbol, merrymakers at a dance switching partners. Woo. Venus in Gemini refines the mind, making it imaginative and poetical. No, okay. There's a fey quality. So you guys know what a fey is, right? A fey is an enchantress. There's a fey quality to the temperament, so that the beneath a show of gregaciousness and indefinable elusiveness defies the intimacy it seems to invite. Sometimes it's easier for such people to write or speak exquisitely about experiences than to feel them intensely. They have aesthetic gifts and are often talented in music, art, and literature. Their innate creativity may also be expressed through crafts and hobbies requiring manual dexterity. All right, well, Gemini is a dexterous sign. Next, the Venetian Gemini discerns beauty and virtue even in the most unpromising situations. All right, so they can see beauty where other people can't. He can stand back and observe the foibles. What kind of writing is this? Are they trying to impress somebody with the vocabulary? He can stand back and observe the human faults, mimicking their idiosyncrasies until his audience simultaneously laughs and weeps for the frailties. Okay, skipping all that. Okay. The Venus Gemini person may be fickle and evasive, but generally no harm is meant by his flirtations. He does not want to be pinned down to one type of work or one set of ideas because he knows that while his kind of wit may entertain, amuse, or uplift, it's ephemeral. All right, whatever. He is better fitted to be a butterfly than a beast of burden. The same sensitivity that accounts for his artistic talents imparts an inner delicacy which makes him reluctant to employ the measures required for the rough, tough clamber up the ladder of worldly success. All right, so it says Venus and Gemini, they don't have the gas, they don't have the nuke ability to climb the corporate ladder. I don't know that that's true or not. But it says these guys are saying they do have a fey quality about them. They like to suck people in. Gemini is known as a trickster in the zodiac. Gemini also rules sales. So these guys make great salesmen. Since earth and air do not blend easily, the sensuous side of Venus is not entirely in harmony with Gemini's breezy intellectuality. The person with this combination enjoys the fun and excitement of romance, but fears its attendant obligations. In his social life, he seeks out clever, witty companions who keep him amused without expecting serious commitments. Although friendly, he shrinks from becoming entangled in the personal problems of others, except that they're definitely gossipers. As a thinker, he can become so titillated by ideas that he would rather not be distracted by the unruly emotions of love. The sentiments of the Venetian Gemini are easily aroused, but they have a disconcerting way of changing without warning. He's capable of becoming amorously involved with more than one person at a time. When it comes to choosing a marriage partner, he may be faced with the necessity of deciding between two prospects and, as a result, settle on neither, but look about for a third. That's funny. His erotic cravings exist largely in the mind and may never really be satisfied, since any flesh and blood person is bound to fall short of the ideal. All right. The greatest drawback of this placement is that a person may not be aware of the true nature of his desires. The result, and they flip-flop back and forth. It's not that they're always taking information. They're ingesting information. They have to take it in. As a result, they're very slow to make decisions. And that's the deal what's going on with this situation. 1 second. They're always slow, they're slow to make decisions. Okay, next, Donna Van Toen. This is a short one. For Venus and Gemini. For you, happiness is learning and being on the move. You want to see it all, do it all. As a result, your needs may be different at different times, and your affections conflict from person to person, accordingly. What you need to and value most are sincerity and good communication. Any relationship on these things stand a good chance of surviving. Next, we have Jeff Green, and this one goes on and on and on and on. 1 second, just sending a message to the most beautiful girl in the entire world. Okay, here we go. Jeff Green. Okay, and Jeff Green goes on and on and on and on and on. So we might, paraphrase some of this. As a pre-existing pattern of interrelatedness, the Venus in Gemini person hears an inner call for self-knowledge. Okay, now let's get down to it. As a pre-existing pattern of interrelatedness, how the guy checks out himself, the Venus in Gemini person hears an inner call for self-knowledge. This manifests in a deep inner restlessness, fueled by a constant inner dialogue within themselves. This inner dialogue poses a variety of questions leading to experiences of all kinds. The essence of these questions is defined by the inner question, who am I? Which also leads to, who are you? Ooh, what? Okay. Venus and Gemini people related to and understand themselves inwardly through a reactive process. This means that these individuals pose a variety of thought possibilities leading to potential experiences and then react to these thought possibilities in such a way that the reaction itself produces self-awareness and self-knowledge. What am I reading? Some kind of science paper here? What is this? Is a perpetual process with the Venus in Gemini person, because Gemini as an archetype is mutable. That's changeable. It's changing all the time. The mutable archetype is one of unrestricted growth and perpetual expansion. Yeah, Gemini is always on the move. They're restless, Yet, because we live in a time-space reality that's defined and understood through polarity, the process of expansion must, at some point, contract. Thus, Venus and Gemini people learn about themselves through cycles and contraction, which are induced as a reaction to excessive expansion. In the cycle of expansion, Venus and Gemini people are inwardly considering a diversity of thoughts in their desire to understand themselves and life in general. Are you guys catching that? This guy's saying Venus in Gemini. Remember, Venus is want. Different types of want. The moon is want to be there. The sun is I'm here. Moon is I want to be there. But Venus is, kind of like I desire. This is like my gas. This is what I'm attracting. Not that you want to be. Venus isn't like. Okay, so enough. Okay. Anyway, so Venus in Gemini, they're inquisitive. They want to know more about themselves. They're always studying and checking things out. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, I didn't say that. He wrote that. What does this mean? That's a good question, man. But what does this by doing this? What will I discover? If I read this, what will I learn? If I talk to this person or take that class, what will I discover? And so on. By initiating experiences and by bringing it into themselves all kinds of information from all kinds of sources, they react inwardly to relatively indiscriminate intake of information. All right, next. Okay, let's skip that because that's a little too deep. They are colorblind, so to speak. They're able to relate to people in a very free way that it's relatively devoid of prejudice. Because of their own inner curiosity as to the possibility of life itself, the Venus and Gemini people are very apt at being able to carry on conversations with other people. Obviously, they ask good questions and are able to communicate quite well. They are quite skilled at drawing other people out of themselves. They are versatile, quick, and quite witty. Conversely, when these individuals are in a contraction cycle, they can be very reactive in their conversations with other people. The reactive process manifests as not completing their own sentences or allowing another to complete their own sentences. When this occurs, their mutual reaction does not allow for either one to actually hear the other. This guy goes on and on and on. Here we go. You guys are going to want to know about this stuff, though. The Venus and Gemini people understand their feelings through their mental body or process. Let us understand that feelings are different from emotions. Do you guys got that? This guy says that feelings are different from emotions. Feelings are an immediate reaction to an existing stimulus, where emotions are a reaction to our feelings. Make sense? Hey, Luz, what's up? For those who are new to the channel, Lucy is our moderator, one of the best moderators on all of YouTube, and she just dropped in because, of course, I'm recording this video live now, and she's a Venus in Gemini. Because Gemini is an air archetype, people who have Venus in this sign relate to themselves inwardly through the nature of what they are thinking at any given moment. This process will induce a feeling of reaction to the specific nature of what those thoughts are. In this way, they come to understand the nature of their feelings. Okay, so let's do, before we get to sexually, so this guy is saying something that's very different. So far, people are saying, you know, the traditional stuff. Venus in Gemini likes multiple partners, or, you know, they're quick-witted, they're affable, they're highly social, they have a lot of friends. You know, Venus in Gemini, as a nature of the yod, Venus in Gemini has a lot to learn from Scorpio. So Venus is a superficial type of vibe, and Scorpio tells the Venus in Gemini to dig deeply, and Capricorn, the other finger of the yod, teaches Gemini to stay progressive, to keep moving forward, and to not get discouraged so easily. This guy is saying, okay, that's the recap so far, and this guy is saying that Venus in Gemini, they have a quest to find out what's going on in themselves. So they're always searching for knowledge, and they internalize the knowledge. So if they see things like, hey, that's a light. What does that light mean for me? You know, Gemini is not an out scattered sign. They are a bringing in sign. They combine things. Additionally, the Gemini, the two twins that represent the Gemini, or the one set of twins, one represents mortality and one represents immortality. And it's the search of these, of this polarity, or you could call it duality if you want, but that Gemini is in a constant state of trying to understand. Okay, so that's what's going on. And this guy says he takes Geminis and Venus and Geminis take the information around them. They're information junkies. They take it and they internalize it. And they use the information for, you know, what does it mean to identify, to try and figure out this quest of mortality versus immortality, and who they are and what their place is in the world. Next. Sexually, the Venus in Gemini person values sexual openness in the sense of mentally entertaining all kinds of sexual possibilities. Again, they are naturally curious, and they do not want to preclude any possibility out of hand. They're searching for something. Again, they're naturally curious, and they do not want to... Did I just read this? Okay. They will, at least mentally, consider almost any sexual possibility. Some with Venus in Gemini have a dual sexual nature that leads to bisexuality. Thus, they can be quite sexually versatile, playful, and sporting because of the implied adventure of being open to all sexual possibilities. This is also a particular attraction to oral forms of sexuality and a strong mental orientation to the sexual act that includes a detachment from it. So these guys can be detached sexually as well. So, you know, if you're looking for that kind of mind-body vibe, these guys aren't really, you know, they may not be it. Anyways, this is necessary to Venus in Gemini because it is through this kind of de facto voyeurism that they learn about themselves, once again, as a sexual being, and learn about others as sexual beings in addition to that. On the other hand, this kind of mental detachment can create sexual frustration because it is as if they are forever observing instead of being totally engaged at a purely emotional and physical level. It is as if they cannot get out of their head, so to speak. All right, so he goes on a little bit more. In addition, the Venus in Gemini person must progressively evolve away from externally acquired knowledge into the dynamic that the knowledge they are seeking is inwardly realized through the development of the intuition. This is interesting. This is the difference between learning and education and mastery of self. So Gemini's quest, or the Venus in Gemini's quest, is mastery of themselves. It's finding the answers within. Now, of course, you have to have a base of understanding, and you have to experience things, and you got to read books and check your action out. But like, once they find out about themselves, they have to have the confidence to say, the confidence and understanding to say, this is my action, this is my game, this is me. And somewhere along the lines, that's what they have to get, and that's what the yod teaches them. The yod, and the yod once again is the two inconjuncts, which are, it's what Venus in Gemini learns from both Scorpio and Capricorn. Scorpio, Venus in Gemini learns, this is me. They learn that from Scorpio, and from Capricorn they learn, this is where I'm going. Next, they will create a deep inner center within themselves that is constant versus an inner center that becomes cyclically fragmented. They will learn to listen to themselves in a different way and thus likewise listen to other people. In effect, they will learn to hear more deeply what is behind or within actual spoken words and the thoughts that are occurring within their own consciousness. In this way, they will learn to communicate differently as they speak to the essence of what is being said rather than reacting to the specific nature of the words only. This, guys, it says a bunch of interesting things. And before we go on to the next author, the next astrologer, I just want to go back to what he says about the difference between emotions and feelings. And he says, oh man, this guy talks a lot about a lot of stuff. He says there's a difference between emotions and feelings. He says, let us understand that feelings are different from emotions. Feelings are an immediate reaction to an existing stimulus, whereas emotions are a reaction to our feelings. All right, next. What? Is that it? What happened to hand? And what's her name from Seattle? What? Well, it looks like that's the action, guys. It looks like that's the action. Next up, we have Venus in Cancer. So, I think that was pretty interesting. So, let's do a quick recap. So, it's important to differentiate here between what happened to hand. It's important to separate between Venus in Cancer and Venus in the third house. So, Venus in the third house is communication. Okay, so if you have Venus in the third house, you're going to be chatty. If you have Venus in Gemini, it's different. Venus in Gemini is a searching kind of relationship. You're going to always be looking for things. You're going to be a nervous kind of lover. You're not like Venus in, and you're going to want to bond with people through words. If your partner has Venus in lover, they want to hear the words. Some people, you have to show them. Taurus, if you have a Venus in Taurus, they're gonna buy you stuff. If you have a Venus in Scorpio, they're gonna want to have sex with you. If you want to have Venus in Aries, they're gonna want to compete with you a little bit. Venus in Gemini, they want to talk to you. You have to tell these people you love them. If they say they love you, you better total donkey it up and say, yo, baby, the only one for me. Even if she's looking at 1 million people, you still have to say, you're the only one for me. That's just the way it is. I didn't tell you to do that. Anyways, so that's what's going on. So that's what's going on. So there are different types of, and just the writers, they say different things here. They're professional astrologers, and some of them, they're just regular people. They can, it depends how they put it all in their brain. But anyways, I'll say it again. So when a professional astrologer looks at your astrology chart, or I'm writing the horoscopes for the newspapers, I'm looking at, for Venus, to what you attract. So when I write the love scopes, I'm looking at Venus. It's what you're going to attract for the weekend. Because there's love in your chart every single day. It's not like you look up in the sky and like, oh my God, there's no Venus tonight. Like, that's not what happens. It's always there. You're always attracting in a certain area of your chart, in a certain part of your life, and I'll show you how to do it. Venus colors that, Gemini, being in Gemini, colors that attraction in a Gemini kind of way. And it colors it just like within yourself. Venus in Gemini colors that part of your chart in a specific kind of way, and it colors it in a way where you thirst for knowledge. You thirst intellectual experiences, and you're always asking questions. You're very affable. You can communicate very well, and you have a silver tongue, a natural born salesman, and you use that Venus energy to bring love and light and beauty and harmony, or darkness, depending on what you want. You're able to manipulate this, but it's not garish, right? That's Mars. Venus is very beautiful. And so Venus in Gemini is a very beautiful sign. And they want to take all of this information and internalize it so that they can know more about themselves. And it's quite a beautiful placement. Having said all of that, they do have a lesson in life. And one of the lessons in life comes from the inconjunct. And in inconjunct, there are two inconjuncts in an astrological, like in your chart, for every sign. And that's an inconjunct is an angle, and the two of them form what's called a yod, or finger of God. And for Gemini, it's Scorpio and Capricorn. And those are the two signs for which Gemini has lessons to learn. And Gemini is a super chatty sign. They're a communicative sign. They are one of these signs of communication. And it's, short distance travel. Venus likes to get out and stuff. And Scorpio teaches Venus and Gemini to dig deep. Don't be superficial. There's more than what you think. And there's more than what people are telling you. That's what Scorpio tells Gemini. And Capricorn says, don't give up. Upwardly mobile. Keep pushing. And everything's going to be cool. And that's the action, guys. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share the video if you know someone who has a Venus in Gemini. And that's the action. If you have any questions, and if you want me to look at your chart or check out your compatibility, to know if somebody's playing you, or to know if if you want me to look at somebody's chart to know how well you guys go together, if that person is in your relationship for the long term, or if they're fooling around, if they're just gold digging or whatever from you, then by all means check it out in the description box, and I'd love to look at your charts. And that's the action. From TheSunnySide.net, I'm Sunny, wishing all Venus in Geminis the absolute best of a super beautiful week. And I'll see you guys soon.